So now what we are doing is we are adding one of our Windows system in the VMware workstation also, and we also have a Kali Linux itself. Now we're going to see that how we can able to see what all ports and what all information that we can grab from our Windows 7 machine. So first command is, if for example if you want to see that what all UDP ports which are up and on this particular host. So for that, first we want to go to Windows 7 machine, and we have to see the IP address. So the IP address showing over here is, you can see that you go to CMD and you type ipconfig. I already did. Okay, so you can see that the command is 192.168.10.142. default gateway is 10.2, as you already aware. Okay, now what we do is we go to sudo nmap, then we type the command as 192.168.10.142. then this is -s and u is UDP. Okay, and we also want the reason behind it, okay, about each of the ports information. Okay, so let's wait for a while. So we can able to see here that Nmap scan 192.168.10.142, which is the Windows 7 host. We can see that the host is up and running. It's showing the latency time as well. You can see all those ports, 137, 138, 500, 4008, and this is all considered as a filtered ports. Okay, then you can see the services as well, that what all services that are open. ISA camp, okay, which is used for IPsec VPN, right? So also that particular port is also open, and net t ik is internet key exchange, which is used for that VPN as well. So you can see here that I already worked on this particular Windows machine, so those services I have used, that's why it is showing that. Because you must aware, if you did the firewall, that net tree traversal, the port is 4500, and which is UDP port, right? And for ISACAM the port is 500, which you can see here the services as well. So we get all this information. We can also see the MAC address of our VM machine, and it's showing that one IP address, the host is showing up, and it takes 41 seconds to get all this information. Let's say if you want to check how many hosts in our network is up and running, for that the command is nmap -s p capital. We will write our network as 10.0/24 and press enter. So you can able to see that how many hosts in your network is up and running. So we can able to see that 10.1, the host is showing up and showing the MAC address. 10.2, which is our default gateway, which is also showing up. Then 10.142, our Windows machine. Okay, and the MAC address also written over there. 10.254, the MAC address is also there in the VMware, and 10.141, which is our Kali Linux machine. So you can able to see that out of all these, a network of 254 hosts, we can able to see that 5 networks or 5 hosts which is up and running. Let's set one example, that if for example if on Windows 7, if you want to check that port 80 and port 443 is up and running or not. So what's the command of it? The command is nmap. We type sudo nmap -s t capital. T is for TCP handshake, okay, which is TCP Connect scan, which is used for TCP 3-way handshake, right? And then we specify the ports as port 80, 443, HTTP and HTTPS, and we will write the IP address of our Windows system, which is 10.142, correct? So you can able to see that the port 80 and port 443 is closed on this particular host 10.142, and which is showing that the host is showing up, and it took 1.38 seconds to get this information. Let's take one example, as in if you want to see that the port 80 and port 443 of Google is up and running or not. So we type the command as sudo nmap, which is TCP, okay, and port is port 80, 443. We type google.com So you can able to see that we are getting the information of the DNS records, which is the DNS server of Google, and we can see the port of port 18, port 443 is open for Google. So this is just the example I showed. If in case if you want to know that how does it look if the port shows open for the network. Okay, so as we discussed about this command, that sudo nmap. So this is the command that we just discussed now, where we use the sudo, which is admin permission, then nmap, then st, which is TCP Connect scan, right? And we are using the port 443 on google.com, that whether these ports are up and running, right? So for example, when TCP handshake, TCP connects comes into picture, which means that this this is TCP three-way handshake. So you must aware that when you are a client, okay, when you are requesting a server, so it must be having three-way handshake, where you are sending a TCP SYN packet, and then you get TCP SYN plus acknowledgement, and then the client will send the acknowledgement, right? But in our case, what I'm trying to say here is that the connect scan, when you send this particular nmap command to check google.com, then if for example if any of the network has the, obviously they have the firewall right inside their organization, and after that they're reaching towards internet, correct? So there's a router over there, then router, then firewall, and firewall there is the LAN side of any network, right? So when you check using this command, then the firewall must able to identify you as in what you are doing in that environment, that why you able to enter into it, right? But there is also a option of stealthy scan. Okay, so under stealthy scan, what we're going to do is that the client and this is the server, right? So we are sending the TCP SYN packet, right? And once we receive the acknowledgement, correct, we like once we received SYN plus ACK, right, from the server, correct? So after that we are not sending the ACK. Okay, why? Because because if the connection is open, as in the connection has been established, then the firewall will able to identify us. But for example, if you remove this step by sending the acknowledgement, if you are only about TCP SYN and ACK, because you just want to check this particular ports, which were 443 and port 80, which is open or not. So once you are done with it, that if this port is open, then it is none of your concern to check that whether this has been established or not, right? So this is called stealthy scan. So this is why I'll going to show you next that how we can use stealthy scan, and I'll also going to show you in Wireshark, where you can able to see that how the TCP connect scan, this one, where the three-way handshake is completely done, as in SYN plus ACK, and acknowledgement. But under stealthy scan, you can see SYN plus ACK, and then reset. So the reset packet is there, okay, where the client will send, and the connection is not established, it is not open, the connection cannot open. So firstly, what we're going to do is we go to applications, okay, under recent use, or you can see old application, and you can able to search as well. So you can see Wireshark, correct? So we are just opening it, we are selecting our port, double click, and this is open now. I just minimize it, I go to my root, and what I'm going to do is that I type sudo, which is root permissions, nmap hyphen TCP scan, okay, then hyphen port 80, 443 https and google.com, right, and press enter. So you can see we received all the information about the DNS of Google, which is 142.251.143.142. These are the two ports which showing that the states are open. Now we go to Wireshark and we can able to see here, you can see the packet number 22, 23 and 24. You can see that 10.10.141 is our Linux Kali Linux machine. We are reaching towards the Google server, which is the SYN packet. Then we receive SYN plus ACK, correct, from this from the server towards the client, and the client's reverting back to acknowledgement. So you can see that three-way handshake is done. You are showing that we are taking random port number and we are reaching to port 80, which is HTTP, correct. Okay, so we are reaching towards Google and we are establishing the three-way handshake. Right now we're going to see here that how we can establish a stealthy scan. Okay, so for that just go here again. What the command is sudo nmap. The same command here we are using uppercase S, which is stealthy scan, right, and press enter. So here you can see that again is showing that the state of the ports are open, services are open. Then this is the DNS server who is reverting back to us, right. Now we go to this Wireshark, we stop the packet, and here you can see that on the packet 20, 21 and 22 you can see SYN plus ACK and again reset. So which means that the connection has not been established. Okay, you can see here that none of the packet, like here there is no three-way handshake done, because you can see SYN plus ACK and reset.